here we are back for Game 4 versus Silver 912, who's playing Iain Sterling. And talking of Sterling, this is a Sterling opening hand. Economy, like two agendas, which is not ideal, but we've got to wrap around to protect our HQ from any naughty account siphons on turn 1. So, and yeah, ripping a wrap off the top makes this an even better start. Now I'm pretty much shored up. I've got more economy to come on my next turn, and I've got agendas that I can just start scoring out. Like, it feels like I'm in a good position. I'm actually slightly hesitant here to start scoring out these 2-1s, just because I don't want to give Iain too much of an economic boost by essentially triggering his gain 2 at the start of your turn from turn 2 or 3 in the game. It's an economic lead that it's hard to catch up on. So yeah, this is a far better a kind of approach to combating fast advance. He's immediately running at my centrals to get me to res, to see what I've got installed, and to try and kind of pressure my economy a bit. Criminals notoriously need to kind of get some kind of early advantage, so being able to kind of push me, make me res stuff, that's probably what I would have done in his situation. Like, Fairy, run R&D, run HQ, that's been my start to a lot of criminal games. And yeah, he comments that it's a pretty good start, hedge fund and double wraparound, and he's not wrong. So there's a Gutenberg. Again, firing off the green level for the extra draw is good. That's probably slightly unnecessary at this point, but at the same time, I'm going to put it there sooner rather than later. And really what I want to do is get maximum use out of that Jackson. So installing it last click and having him run and trash it feels like a waste. I'd much rather install it, draw 2. Oh, he's special ordered for a Corroder, so my wraparound's looking a little worse for wear at this point, and I'm starting to feel glad that I've got the Gutenberg over my R&D. So a real beating here would be account siphon, but no, what we see instead is inside job into R&D. I mean, that's a lot of credits to pay, especially when it leaves you with no credits to actually use your wraparound to break, use your Corroder to break the wraparound. So yeah, he misclicked. I'm going to let him walk this back because it's obviously a terrible terrible waste of his inside job. It's just throwing 2 credits and a click away. So I'd much rather kind of let him do what he should have done in the first place. So he takes his cards back, takes his credits back. Eventually, and instead decides to install a Fall Guy, which means he could now inside job through again, blow the Fall Guy, gain 2, pay 1 to go through, but it's a lot of cards for a single random access off the top of R&D. It's Crick, one of my favourite positional pieces of ice. So yeah, it's time to draw 2 and install an archive. So yeah, I'm feeling relatively comfortable here. I'm still kind of worried about what happens if he draws a siphon, but he didn't have one last turn, so unless he kind of draws into it, which in his situation I would probably be going draw to look for a siphon to get me down to 1 credit, but because the bane of all fast advanced decks is having no money, and really it's the way that criminal decks should be looking to fight with fast advanced decks. They want to get access to their HQ. They want to siphon lock them into a pitifully low amount of credits, and then pressure their remotes so that they can't res their sands, they can't adequately defend their R&D, so you can get a lot of free looks while keeping them poor. But no, I luck out again. There's just some drawing, some credits, some daily casting. So here it's time to take a risk. I'm fairly confident that he can't get through a touring, even though, and this is where I'm a complete idiot, I know he's got an inside job in his hand, which I let him take back. So my thinking here is, well, if he doesn't run the touring on his first click, I get to score an Astro, it's great. Unfortunately, my brain has turned off and I forget that he's got the inside job in his hand. But fortunately, he doesn't use it. And I instead get to score an Astro. It's possible he thought I was trying to bait the inside job out. I'm not sure. Obviously, me having scored an Astro isn't the worst for him either, because he's now ticking up 2 credits a turn. It's like a built-in Sundew, and that's not an insignificant amount of economy. But my economic events arrive right on time, and I've got a Chrysium for HQ, so I'm feeling a bit safer against his siphon threat. At this point, I'm not sure what Iain's best bet is. Now he decides to start coming into HQ after maybe the Chrysium kind of almost baited him to do it, because without the Chrysium he seemed content to leave my HQ alone. So now he's going to pay to get in. I think he must be fairly certain it's a Chrysium grid, so yeah, he comes in, he sees it, he pays 5 to trash it, and he gets my 15 minutes as well. And so this is just another example of people not thinking, or maybe playing on autopilot and not realising that what they're doing isn't ideal. Because sure, he's vetting the rest of my hand, but I'm Haarpsichord and he's already stolen an agenda this turn, so he's going to see the Cyberdex, he's going to see the toll booth, he's going to see the breaking news and not be able to steal it. And again, that's a play which is best left for the next turn. It gives you a way better chance of getting something out of it. So yeah, my worry is he's going to come straight back in. Now he knows it's there, so yeah, time to score. His credit pool gradually ticking up. Daily casts plus Iain's ability means that the chances of me keeping him poor are pretty bad right now. The Mother Goddess that I've got installed in Server 2 is fairly ineffective because I've got 2 barriers rezzed. So something that I might consider as this game progresses would be to install ice over those wraparounds now. Kind of take the barrier subtype off the board and get the Mother Goddess back to a kind of neutral typeless ice which I can score behind. But with the Astro token on the Astro script, I probably won't need that. And yeah, he just hostaged for Rachel Beckman. Now he's got an awful lot of money, but again, this is a decision which could potentially be unwise, because Rachel Beckman costs 8, gets trashed if you are tagged, and he's just seen me score a breaking news, so I can tag him and the Fall Guy won't protect the Rachel Beckman, because after the Fall Guy prevents her from being trashed, he'll still be tagged and she'll get trashed again. So Rachel Beckman is a fun card, but there is a time and a place for her, and against an NBN deck, I'm not sure spending 10 to fetch her out of your deck is going to be worth it. But an extra click's powerful. Like, there may well be in the future a deck which makes use of her, if there's ever a way of cheating resources into play without having to pay 8 for them. But yeah, so he's got 5 clicks now, but next to no credits, and no multi-access, not really looking like a threat. I'm not feeling under pressure apart from the worry of a siphon. And even then, I'm on 15 credits, so it's going to take back-to-back siphons to make me feel poor again. So he's using all his clicks for a second fairy. Again, I'm not really sure, unless you are doing it just to get the cards out of your hand, why you'd install the second fairy while you had the first one in play. Okay, so Medium announces his intention to make my R&D his home. This is obviously something that I don't want, so I'm kind of drawing through now to look for something which might discourage that. The franchise city is about to go away. The quicksand is obviously not great while he's got a corroder in play. So he's yeah. So on the surface, he's looking like he's in a strong position in terms of stuff that he's doing. There's the new Angeli City Hall, and that's going to protect his Rachel Beckman. So there is a method to his madness. He can, in theory, keep her safe and well and operate as a 5-click runner for the remainder of the game, as long as he keeps enough credits to dodge the 2 tags from a breaking news. So yeah, at this point, I'm starting to feel more than a little concerned. Double medium. He's got a corroder out, so my wraparound on R&D isn't really going to do anything. I could very easily get R&D locked from this position and just never draw the agendas that I need in order to win. I need to stop him from kind of getting in there, and there's a few ways that I could do that. Like, I could fairly simply go install onto R&D trashing wraparound, install onto HQ trashing wraparound, and then make sure one of the installs, probably the R&D one, was my Mother Goddess. That would give me nice typeless ice to protect me, and criminals not well known for running AI breakers or parasites. So yeah, so I've put the news team back here on the assumption that he's seen me score out from behind this remote before. Maybe he'll want to go in and check it again, and you know, he doesn't have a lot of credits. He's either going to lose an agenda point or lose his Rachel Beckman, which is a pretty big investment. Now, when you're Iain Stirling in this position, I would be getting ready to just hammer R&D constantly. I'd be looking kind of now, in fact. Okay, so he sees the Gutenberg. Obviously, he can just let me fire it, dodge the tag with New Angeli City Hall. So he can get into my R&D for 3 credits a turn. And he's a 5-click runner, so in theory, every turn for the rest of the game could be him gaining 3, running my R&D, and then doing something else with his last click. So he runs in, he dodges with the New Angeli City Hall. He breaks the wraparound and puts 2 tokens on his mediums and sees my top card. And he takes a global food off the top. That's going to trash his New Angeli City Hall, but he saves it with a Fall Guy. from a runner perspective, I'm a big fan of the New Angeles City Hall Film Critic, Fall Guy, The Source package out of Criminal. I think it's good as long as you can maintain a decent amount of credits, which criminals normally can through Desperado and security testing, bank jobs and account siphons. Makes your siphons pretty click efficient because you can just dodge the siphon tags as opposed to having to click twice to get rid of them. Okay, so here comes that inside job that he'd been sandbagging into my archives. But again, he's stolen an agenda this turn, so I don't even need to trigger my Jackson. I can let him go in. I can purge the 2 medium counters, so that's less threatening next turn. And he sees the global food but can't steal it because I'm Haarpsichord, and he can only steal one of my agendas each turn. Yeah, and he realises that. So now it's time to shore up my defences. So we're going to install over that wraparound with an Enigma. We're going to install over that wraparound with a Mother Goddess. And now I'm feeling much safer. Now what I can do on my next turn is install the Sansan in the news team remote, because obviously Sansan's an upgrade, news team is an asset, so they can coexist, and that's not a fun server to run into. Meanwhile, he's just clicking for credits and installing a Logos. Not really sure. I mean, there's obviously something that he thinks he's missing. I mean, Logos just for Siphon might be a pretty good line, but at this point, I've got a Sansan and a news team behind a Turing, and I've got enough points in my hand to win the game. So I'm now thinking maybe next turn I just res the Sansan, install the Beal, advance and score it to put myself on 7, and then he's got 1 turn to fish the second Beal out. But no, instead I install the Beal this turn over the news team. Again, not really sure what I was thinking there. He hadn't shown any inclination to run at my hand, and I did have the Mother Goddess there, so it's a strange choice. Ultimately, because he doesn't run it, it saves me 6 credits. I don't have to res the Sansan. Oh, and there's an Astro. So now I can give myself inevitability. So with the Astro script scored, I've now got a Beal on the table and a Beal in hand. Unless he puts down a film critic and accesses them both this turn, then there's no way he can prevent me from scoring on my next turn. Even the Source won't do it because I can res the Sansan and score. My opponent's very happy because he finds 3 Trimath contacts and installs them all. Which, sure, if you're a 5-click runner and you've got like a really ghetto magnum opus setup, which means that if you ever get all-seeing eyed, you die, sure. In the meantime, I will just quickly advance the Beal, which is in server 2. And that's game. So yeah, another example. If you take time, if you're trying to do complicated or multi-card or big setup things against a deck which is just looking to go fast, you need to balance your aggression with your setup. And sometimes people go too far in the aggression early and find themselves behind in the setup, and in cases like that, people go too setup heavy and not aggressive enough and find that they've turned around and had 7 points scored against them. Okay, on to game 5.